You talk about storytelling a lot, and it's personally one of my favorite topics, the human element of storytelling. And you had a great quote from Antonio Damasio, who said, "We're not thinking machines that feel, we are feeling machines that think," which I love that quote. You talked a little bit about deck creation, but the main nuggets that you need to include to make this a valuable conversation with the investor when you present the deck. But what are some of the human elements that you suggest founders bring to really make that story shine?
So one little calibration point here is that people can also tell when they're being manipulated. And so when you tell your story, I think that there's a certain level of authenticity you need, and you shouldn't over push on that in order to create sort of an artificial sense of emotions. So this is where you can't just be obviously telling a story that is entirely around a transactional element and inspire somebody to give you money on the basis of nothing. It doesn't tend to work that well. But on the other extreme of this, you can't ham up something so much that it feels not genuine, and that the way that you're approaching this and the outcome of this is entirely for ulterior motives. And that also breaks trust, which doesn't brings me to the main point. It's like storytelling is to create trust around the authenticity of your emotions towards the project and the customer. And that's kind of like maybe a definition of it, right? So that means that there's a spectrum. Like you don't care or you fake care. Both ends of that spectrum are bad, right? So then it becomes, how do you tell an authentic story around why you're building this? And that sometimes comes from the background of your team and how you met or what the issue was. But not everything needs to be prepared like some sort of pre-digested story. And this is probably the issue that's hardest to communicate to somebody is storytelling isn't about storytelling. It's about understanding that there is a relationship between what you're working on, the customer, the person that you're talking to at the moment, and you're telling about your company, your relationship with that idea and how you got there with your colleagues. And some of that can be articulated through a narrative that explains it, but some of it can just be a function of discovery and how you sort of represent that discovery process. And so I'm being intentionally abstract here because I don't want people to walk away from this point and think that what they need to get really good at is crafting some sort of Disney narrative around their startup. That isn't the objective. But the objective is to have people walk away being able to tell your story to somebody else. So maybe that's the best way to describe it is like if I heard what you said, whichever way it came, not Disney specifically, but some other variant of it, and then I walk away and I hear something very clearly and I structure it so that I can articulate it at a dinner party later, then you've effectively story told. You've effectively communicated what your idea is. So it might be, like the obvious example is, hey, I'm starting this business because I used to work in this industry and I noticed this was broken and this is what I'm building. And my background, my team, we have PhDs in this issue. And so we built it and look, this is how cool it is and how it serves the customer loves it, right? That's the typical arc, right? Now, the atypical arc would be more like you were working on something that the customer, noticed and used the feature, and then you noticed that that feature had an extension with another group of people, and then you sort of deducted that there was something to be built there, and then you became passionate about the fact that it was solving a problem. And so it doesn't always have to feel artificial, like you've created this artificial thing. And so I think where people go wrong is when they try too hard. Man, that's maybe the way to put it. You can mess it up by trying too hard, but you can also mess it up if you don't try to put together all the thoughts about how it came together in a way that somebody else can then represent it for you.